what makes Clare a little bit different is not only has it seen an increase in rents between December and March, but that is on top of increases over the second half of last year. Some markets around the country didn't really see rents in the open market increase over the second half of last year, or at least certainly not at the rate that we're seeing now. So when you add in the increases in later last year with earlier this year, rents in Clare are about 15% higher now than a year ago. That's one of the bigger increases we've seen around the country. A lot of counties are kind of more 6, 7, 8, 9%, but Clare seems to be feeling the effects of a lack of supply on the one hand,
Uh-huh.
and at the same time, the reset of rents with the new rent control measures coming into place on the other hand.
And sustained demand, would that be a factor there?
Apologies, yeah, of course. At the bottom of all of this is strong demand. As a country, not just Clare or the region, but the entire country has very strong demand for housing. Is a lot of new rental homes required. They're not getting built, certainly not at the numbers the country needs. And as a result, with that strong demand and weak supply, the pressure on rents is upwards. And then mixed in with that in the last couple of months is this change in the rent control rules.
The type of property that saw the biggest increase in rent in Clare in the last year was a 4-bed home. That's now setting tenants back €2,162 on average, and that's 21% above what it was. When I think of a 4-bed, I think of families, although of course a 4-bed property isn't strictly limited to families. It could be a number of single people sharing, but are families struggling in County Clare to find a suitable property?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of it in just the numbers, and you mentioned the percentages there, but the euro amounts, a 4-bed house that comes onto the market in Clare at the moment is asking on average 2,000, almost €2,200 a month in rent. I mean, that number would have been unimaginable 10 years ago in terms of rent levels. As you say, if you are a family and you have one or one and a half incomes, or maybe two incomes, you're now competing with it could be 4 single people looking at a 4-bed home, or even 5 if you've got the master room and you've got a couple living in one. So the problem with the rental market, different from the sales market, is that in the sales market there are a fixed number of incomes. It's 1 or 2 incomes, or maybe one and a half incomes going to pay for the home. In the rental market, we've moved from having fewer incomes in each home to having more over the last 10 years, and that's pushed rents up in some cases way beyond what we've seen in prices, although in places like Clare, both prices and rents have increased a lot since COVID.
It's a concerning time for tenants. How well protected by legislation are they?
The flip side is if you're a sitting tenant, now you're in a system where you can't be asked to leave just because the landlord wants to move on and get a new tenant at the market rate. You have 6-year tenancies. So if you're a sitting tenant, you are protected, and check out your rights on that. The challenge is those in the unfortunate position of having to move. Either they're moving out of their parents, they're moving city because of a job, or just life circumstances change, they need to move to somewhere different. It's people in the open market that are bearing the brunt of the lack of supply, and that are facing these, as I say, very high rents. It could be 1,800 a month for a 3-bed and 1,500 a month for a 2-bed apartment, or as we talked about, over €2,100 a month for a 4-bed home.
In lieu of a serious ramping up of supply, because that's obviously more of a long-term measure, what measures can be implemented in County Clare, Ronan, to alleviate this issue and bring rents down?
I think, being honest, I think supply is the main. It's the only solution here. Anything else is kind of redistributing the existing homes with more and more demand each year. So what I'd be looking for would be a significant, and this applies for most counties, not just Clare, is a significant cost rental program. And what that means is that the cost of the rent per month is based on how much it costs to build a home, not what the market thinks. And that's a form of social housing that they have in other countries. And Vienna is the most famous example, as a city that has built a cost rental sector. But it means that the supply of new rental homes, if the market is weak, the cost rental sector kicks in instead. Now, there's other elements to it, but at the core, that's what it is, that you base the provision of affordable rental on the cost of building homes, not on what the market thinks. And you have then those two, the market and the cost rental together, meaning there are enough homes. I think without that additional pillar as part of our housing system, we're going to be having similar kinds of conversations, not just in 3 or 6 months, but in 3 or 6 years maybe.